Hello everyone, it's Julie and welcome back to my channel. I have this project that I did a quick, what do I want to call it? A quick preview of, if I can get it, I just kind of crashed everything over here, was this card. And this is called an infinity card, okay, and it just goes on and on and on. I made this kind of interactive, you know, because I put the fish in it, but this I'm going to show you very simply. Now this one is, the concept is the same, but the measurements are different because I made this to fit the faux book boxes that I've been making, okay? But I want to show you that this is a simpler version, straightforward, a little bit larger card if you want to be making some Christmas cards, okay? Birthday cards, that is, you know, I guess, do I want to say universal? But let's just go ahead and get right into it and let me show you. First of all, what you want to do is start off with two 6 by 6 cards. Cut them out, okay, and then we're going to cut them in half, or you cut each strip at 3" by 6", and you need 4 of those, okay? Simple. You can cut out like a 6 by 12, okay, and then you turn it and then cut it every 3 inches, so you end up with 4, okay, of these panels. And what we're going to do, I've already cut my little squares out, and we'll get to that in a minute. Let's just put this together. I'm going to move this so I don't mess up those little decorative pieces. Now, oops, wrong one. You want to get out your scoreboard. You want to get your scoreboard out, okay? And you want to get your, start here with your panels. Let's see, where is my, oh, it's right here in front of my face. And the measurements, what you're going to score this at, you're going to score this at, oh, where is it? I just put this one together. I was going to use this one, but I couldn't figure out what designs I want to add to this. Okay, so you want to score this at 1.5 and 4.5. 1.5 and 4.5. And you want to be careful scoring this. Like for me, this card is not like the best card, so I have to be very gentle. And then just flip it over and reinforce that score line, and do that with all of your pieces, okay? And I'll be right back. Okay, I've got all my pieces scored, okay? We turn them on this way on the scoreboard, 1.5 and 4.5. And this is going to be pretty straightforward because I'm using a sort of a non-directional pattern, okay? But this one, I started out as a directional one, but I didn't want to go into this detail because it might take a little bit longer. But let me just share, this is the front of the cover, okay? And this is the back of the cover. And if you see that this does not match up, okay, none of these characters in here match up, but here my cover is facing, all of my little characters are all lined up, as you can see, they all match, okay, the onion, the broccoli, the apple, and so forth. But when you start to go and flip, this is the first flip, second flip, third flip, and that's when it lines up. So when you see my pear is now lined up, my onion, so that's, you have to, if you're going to use a pattern paper that is one direction, you have to be very, very careful in putting this together. Okay, the front page is pretty straightforward. So what happened was, when you go back to, when you're, let me go ahead and explain this towards the end of the video so we can get through this process. Okay, so let me go and set this aside. So let's just get putting this together. So now that we have 4 of the same identical pieces, okay, so what we're going to want to do, oops, my fingers. So I have 2 this way, okay, and then we're going to need to have 2 pieces. This piece has to go this way, okay, but turned over. So just turn them over, because this is a non-directional piece of paper. Okay, as you can see, if I were to see, it's still, actually, let me see if we can do a directional, let me see, this might work. This might, hang on, we might be able to, I might be able to show you. Okay, that's not that piece. Well, oh, I know why, because I mixed these guys up. Okay, let me, hang on, let me figure this out. Okay, I figured it out. Woo, boy, did my eyes go. Okay, so I cut out 2 panels, okay, they were 6 by 6, and then I cut them directly in half. Now I want to show you, even while this is not a problem, if I were going to be very meticulous, this lines up. If you notice all these little flower petals and stuff, see, they line up, okay, they line up. And if I'm going to be that specific, very anal, which some, you know, I was in my last project, okay, because it had to line up, but I'm going to do that for this project. Now, if I wanted these 2 to line up, okay, I am going to do this. I'm going to take my first panel, okay, I'm going to line these 2 up, and then I'm going to flip this over as if, see, so now the opposites, they're going to be opposites, okay, and let me pick this up and show you. The flowers on this side do not line up whatsoever, okay, so I'm going to leave this here. If you're not going to be meticulous like this on a very, you know, a busy pattern paper like this where it's not necessary, but for the sake of this, I'm going to show you how it turns out, because these things will line up, like I said, and then these will go here. Now, with this one, I started here, okay, and then when you'll see that this lines up, okay, but I did this also. I used the same method that I just showed you to line every little detail up, okay. So when you go to flip it, let me take it back here, you could see that they do not line up, the pear or onion or nothing. But when you start manipulating, you know, turning your card, your infinity card, and opening it, everything lines up. See the pear? Okay, so for me to be this anal and specific, I'm going to get my glue. I'm going to, from this score line, I'm not going to bring the glue down to that score line, okay, because you want everything to fold right. So I'm just putting that glue like that, okay. And I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to take this top piece, if I can grab it, and I'm going to line these corners up. You're going to make sure that when you glue these pieces down, that your corners are together, okay, like this one's not. So I'm turning it over, making sure that I have it all lined up as best you can, okay. And I think we got it. So then I'm just going to take this little bone folder and just press that down and make sure that dries really good, okay. So now I am going to, take this corner and I'm going to line it down to this corner, okay. So I'm going to put my glue here, like right there. Don't go to the score line, okay. Oops, there's a bit of a puddle there. Okay. So now I'm going to take this one and line this up. Ugh, my hands they're a bit shaky. I've been working these little hands out so much. Okay. Trying to get lots of projects and gifts done when I go to Kentucky. So I'm making sure I'm lining that up. Make sure I line it up because I want that. See? Which is surprising with this art glitter glue. Woo! This thing, once you lay it down, see? Which is surprising. I'm surprised that it's giving me this wiggle room. Usually it's, once it makes contact to the other sheet of paper, it is stuck. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to take our other panel. Oh, what's happening? What's happening? Okay, it's moving. Okay, and then we're going to lay this down here, and we're going to glue the corners. Okay, so turn this over and glue that, and then glue this. You can do it one at a time, but I'm just going to lay it down just like this. Get my slip sliding away, and get those corners met up like so. Okay, looking good, looking good. Uh-oh, what happened here? What happened here? Oh my goodness. Is that all lined up? It sure is. Wow. Surprising with this art glitter glue. It's moving. This thing should have been stuck down already, like cement. Okay. Now, let me just wait till this dries a little bit so I can start flipping and showing you what I mean by your card meeting up. Okay, that should be good. Now, okay, was this? Yeah, this is my front. And then, we gotta manipulate those little score lines. Get those little score lines. Look at that. That just came right off, which is unusual. This, I don't know, maybe my glitter glue. Wow, that's crazy. Did you guys just see that? Of course you did. Hang on, I'm going to put this back together. Okay, hopefully that's stuck now. Okay, now when you go to open it up, just kind of start like I was doing, manipulating those little creases, okay? Because your card should open up like this. That's your first flip, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and crease this. Now this paper pad that I'm using is not the best because I have to be very careful how I score because it starts to crack. So, but this is what I could afford. I bought this, I think, at Walmart. It's not your best quality double-sided or decorative paper, okay? So now now we see that this front, these flowers match up, right? See those little flowers, they all line up. Now, okay, then we flip it. We do our first flip, and then we're gonna flip again. Oh, well, okay. This is what we've got to do. We've got to make sure that our little card thing, our little score lines are... I guess I didn't score it. I'm having a difficult time because I didn't score it very much because, as you can see, this paper does not want to... Here, let me just fix my little score line thingy there. It'll rip. So if you're using better quality paper, then you're not going to have this problem. So I had to be extra careful. Otherwise, with my other, like the cardstock and card craft, I'm like going to town, creasing it away, you know, scoring it and stuff. So let me... You don't want to watch... Well, yeah, you do. You want to watch me do this because if you're using a cardstock that's not that great, just be very gentle. I'm just doing it for the sake of this tutorial, but actually this is going to actually go into my... Well, this won't fit in my daughter's journal because I have to make one that... Let me show you the difference. Okay? There's a difference. That's how huge the card is. This fits in the decorative boxes, the book box. Okay, so I had to figure out the measurements on that. Okay, so we flip through, and then we flip again. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and crease these up very carefully, just running it through so everything works. And then when you bring this, flip that out, look at our flowers are completely lined up. You see that? See the little flowers along the cut line? They are lined up. See that? That's me being anal, okay? And I know that's not a very nice word, but I am. OCD, you want, to some degree. Okay, so we know that that lines up, and then we come back to the front of our card. Okay, so our card works, but once we glued this down, this was the first step, we glued the sides down, okay? Then we come open, bone fold it, whatever you need to do now. Okay, you see this side, and this has got to get glued to here. But keep in mind your score line. You don't want to glue past that score line. Then your card is not going to work. Okay, so I'm just going to come in here. Here's my little, the end of the, let me zoom you guys in for this. Okay, there's a score line. I'm not going to glue past that, and I'll show you what I'm just going to put like a bead of glue. Not a bead, but a strip. See? See that? it's not, and just carefully press that down. That glue is not going to go over that score line. Don't let it go over that score line up. And just hold it down. I guess apparently I got to hold this down because this glue is not sticking for, I don't know, maybe can art glitter glue get old? I don't know. I use it so much that it doesn't stay around long enough for it to get all old. Let me turn this over and put that little paperweight down. I'm going to put the glue on this side. And over here. Now, for those who have the AGT gun, which is like that, those tape runners. Do you guys remember those? For the newbies, it looks like this. Oops, my string. That's what this looks like. Okay, it's a tape runner, you know, and it puts down the sticky tape stuff. I stopped using it. I may take it out and use it because I want to use it up, but I've never had success in running the tape like that. I don't know, I just keep not. I'm just going to press this down. Press this down. Okay, so now our little thingamajigger is secured. Safe. Oh boy, I gotta like keep. Okay. And then you open it up. And the little flowers match up. You turn it back to the front and just keep manipulating your card. And it'll keep opening. And there's my front. Is that my front? Yes. So now let's go to decorating. Now that you got your card put together, okay, oops, your card's working and functioning, okay, oops, and then back to the front. Okay, now simply for these little panels, you can see that you got little score lines here, and these are little panel areas, right? So to decorate this, if you're wanting to be a little more elaborate, you can cut these out. The measurements are for these, you need 8 total of these, okay? But depending on your design aesthetic, like for me, like this, I am going to take 2 of these. Oops. These are cut at, the large squares are going to be 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Okay, that's square. And I'm going to put them like down in the center here. Okay, because I don't want to put, wait a minute, this is not the 2 3/4 one. It's this one back here. Ay. Ay, 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 my fingers. Okay, I don't want to keep it monochromatic like that. Okay, it just, but I want to turn it over because it's a white card. Okay, so I'm going to do this to bring this card out. Okay. And then for me, for the first 2 cards here, I am going to probably distress it, and then I'm going to do a my own painting on here. But if you're not going to paint, if you know, then this is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 square, Then this little middle one is 2.5 by 2.5. Okay, so if I were going to decorate it and not paint it, this is what I would do. I'm not going to use the two of the same one. I will do this. Okay, so the large panels, you need a total of 8 at 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, and then your center panels, that could be another decorative element card that you have, at 2.5 by 2.5. Okay, now when I come into my, I'm going to have white panels here. Actually, do I want to just go ahead and glue those down? I'll do my front in a bit. Then come in here, and it's completely white, right? As we can see. So let me get these guys over on their section. So this is where this comes in, and I am going to keep it monochromatic, but not busy, like, you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to put my 2 squares here. Actually, let me just glue that down. And I'm not going to be OCD on this. I'm not going to try and find the... And then let me show you. When you use your Cricut cutter, it ends up leaving this little fold thing. I just like to flatten it out. So if you see any of those on your paper, just flatten it out. And then it lays down a lot better. See? It doesn't have that little lippy fold thingy. Bugs me to no end. Okay. So let's just glue this on and show you. I'm going to decorate all these. Ooh, what? Okay. Because the rest of the card, because it's not double-sided, it's going to be white. But I'm going to take advantage of that. But if I want to distress it and give it a vintage look, you just take your distress ink, right? And distress it now. This is the 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Little panel. Oh, so this just decides it wants to just stick down there without a fight. And then I just take my little paperweight and oh, there's that little thing again. Look at that. Ugh. Okay. So we got these panels. You just need 8 of them. However you want to decorate your card. Okay, I'm going to set this down. I'm eyeballing it, centering it on this side, making sure that it lines up. These little panels, see, straight up and down. How pretty is that, right? Now that we have these squares, now we've got, ooh, yikes, we've got, let me lift it up. In the inside, you've got these little squares, little squares, little squares, little squares, right? And this long rectangular panel. So what I did was, let me get these in its proper place over there. I have cut 8 of these little side panels. Okay, and these little panels that are going to go here are measured at lengthwise 2 3/4, of course, and then widthwise that is 1 1/4. So 1 1/4, that's 1 1/4 by 2 3/4. 2 3/4. Okay, 8 of those. So let's glue this down here. And I don't think I glued my I made my little square panels in this card. If I'll show you why. Hang on a second. let's get this laid down. And just follow all the little cutting instructions. It'll work out. Oh, it wants to stick. Now it wants to be stubborn as Stephen. Okay. Stubborn Stephen. Okay. And then just kind of press that into place. See how beautiful that's looking? Now, on these little squares are going to be cut at 1 1/4 by 1 1/4. Okay. And see, I cut the interior panel because I told you that this on my outer cover, I might do this. Come back here. I'll use this. It's going to look like this on my front cover. Okay, on the outer cover, because it'll look just like that. Okay, maybe. I haven't decided yet, but each one of these have a panel. Okay, you've got your outer panel that measures 1 1/4 by 2 3/4, and this rectangular piece is 2 1/2 by, what did I do? 2 1/2 by 1 inch. Okay, so this is 1 inch width by 2 1/2, and see how that panel looks in there? And so I can put like a, I don't know, stamping of a beautiful flower, or, you know, something like that. And then these, I didn't do the flower, these little things, because I thought I might just do that, just to break up the design feature, you know, just to break it up, instead of just having 4 little squares. But as you can see, that would go here. Let's find another little square. This will go down here. See how that looks? Kind of has that Asian vibe, the Oriental vibe that I'm going for my daughter's faux book, and it's the aesthetic of it is, yikes, do you hear me dropping everything? See, that's what this aesthetic is going to look like. Very pretty, right? That's why I chose this pattern, because I'm keeping it in all the light blues, the light, like bluish grays. Those were my signature colors for, I mean, late up until, I don't know, forever it seems like. And then as I was working in like offices, running behavioral health offices and things like that, and my color palette was black, white, and gray. Oh, I'm telling you. Okay, so now let's get this other panel on the other side. Let's just put this over here with these little squares. Get this back over here. Okay, so if you were going to did I make a measurement for that one? I didn't, did I? So this was 1 1/4. Hang on a second. I did a whoops. Okay, if this is 1 1/4 by 1 1/4, if I am going to make, if I cut these little squares out, right, for this panel, I would do 1 1/4 by 1 1/4, and then to do a small little panel, you will want to do, just take off 1/8 of an inch on one side and 1/8 of an inch on the other. Not on all 4 sides, and you're gonna have this tiny little teeny bitty, but take off 1/8 of an inch on the top, and then on the side 1/8 of an inch, and then you'll have a little panel that fits right in the center of this. Okay, yeah, did we get that? So then I hope everybody gets that. Okay, a panel like this, if I'm going to do a blue one, This is going to be 1 1/4 by 1 1/4, right? Square. Then your inside panel, you're going to take off 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Let me just show you something. If this was my panel, okay, and I'm going to make a smaller little panel to go inside, you take off one. Let me do this right now. Scissors. I'm going to take off 1/8 of an inch. And hopefully my cutter is pretty straight. I don't want to remove that dark brown. Okay. So here's my my square, right? Let's just say that's my square. I don't want to bend this. Do you see how that works? Now we've got an inside. It would be on these sides, it'll be a little bit smaller, but because I didn't cut it up on this board, I didn't measure it. But if you just take 1/8 of an inch, let's take a sketch more of that off. If it's 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch off, it should look like this. See that? The border is even. Okay, so while I have this, let's just measure that. You're going to cut it down to, just cut out 1 inch square. Okay, how about that? 1 inch square, because when I'm measuring this piece that I cut by hand, it measures 1 1/16. Okay, just cut it down to 1 inch square. Okay, 1 inch by 1 inch. Okay, 1 inch by 1 inch. Alrighty, guys, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I am going to lay this panel down. Yikes. Ooh, no. Oh, I should have went around and did this to all of my little, I just hate that like cutting edge. It just, so I'm laying it flat. Okay, so if you have that, if you find that yours have that little edge underneath, that little cutting trimmed edge, just flatten it out. But if you don't mind, just stick it down. But I do. I just, oh no, see that? So I'm going to lay this panel down. As best I can. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to flatten this out. Sky's the limit on decorating this. Now, I may show you the end product, but I'm not going to do all of that. I'm going to add like little things here and there like I did to the, but look at how that is coming out. Really pretty for my daughter's Oriental themed faux book box. Pretty, huh? My favorite. I love this color. This is my father's favorite color too. That's probably why I gravitated to that, because my father had, I asked him when I was little one day, what is your favorite color, Dad? And he told me light blue, and so, you know, Daddy's little girl had to copy him, but I just fell in love with it because it was the color of the ocean, and I love the ocean. So here we go. I am not going to commit to this yet. How'd it go? I'm not going to commit to that yet, okay? To put these little but I'm going to show you, that's where my head was going. Oh, that's my little, this is my little thought process, you guys. So I've got a bunch of these little papers cut out. So if I were to glue this down right now, and yes, for those that love to distress ink everything, sometimes I distress ink everything, but then sometimes I'm not. I just because it's just, a huge commitment for me to the reason why I tossed this one, because I have two of the same. So I'm going to put this like down here. But then this does need a border, right? Here. Oh, that's the little one I cut down. Okay, let's just go back to this one. And the reason why, if you see why I did that, because look at the edges of the, it looks distressed, right? So let's just, hopefully my little pieces won't fly away from my overhead fan, but look at how pretty that is. Okay, now the inside of this panel is why I have these panels. The interior one, remember this outer one is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, that which is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 square. The interior panel is 2 1/2 by 2 1/2 square. Okay, so this is my thought process. I'm going to do this. See that? But then, let me just look that up. See? I don't want to cover these side panels. I might put something else, like an embossed something with my embossing powders. So what do you guys think about that? So that's what that looks like if I commit to that. Okay? I'm not going to glue it down because I haven't committed. I'm not going to commit myself. Okay. I'm not going to commit myself to the institution. Now when you flip this over, you've got these, okay? And this is where I probably will, now that I'm looking at the design feature on this, I will take, let me just go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to use my little board for this. Okay, this was 2 3/4.